The NFL is a quarter over for almost every NFL team, and with that being said, the season is really taking shape. The Bills are off to a 4-0 start, while the other New York teams, those of course being the Jets and the Giants, are 0-4. The slate of games didn't look too enticing entering the day, but there were several great games, and we certainly have some things to discuss regarding Week 4. There were some surprising things that happened, like the Browns going into Dallas and winning by double digits, and the Panthers starting out 2-2, despite it being expected to be a transition year. We'll dive into everything, and as always, the takeaways are in no order, meaning this one isn't more important than that one, and vice versa. Now, before we get started, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now let's begin. And first we discuss the Dallas Cowboys. They gave up 49 points to the Browns on Sunday, and their defense looked absolutely atrocious in the process. Quarterback Dak Prescott threw for over 500 yards and had 4 passing touchdowns in the game. Now, if a player has that stat line with over 40 completions, might I add, you would think that's enough for a win. Unfortunately for Dak and Cowboys fans everywhere, they lost by double digits. This team can put up points, and in bunches at that, but the takeaway is they will go as far as their defense lets them. They've put up 30 points at least in 3 of their first 4 games and have just win to show for it. And to be completely honest, they shouldn't even have one win to show for it if it wasn't for another choke job by the Atlanta Falcons. Dak Prescott is playing good football, but the problem he's facing is similar to what Matt Ryan has had to face for most of his career, and that's a not good defense prohibiting the team winning games. If you're not a fan of Dak Prescott, that's fine, but I would ask, how much more does Dak have to do to win a football game? He helped his team put up 38 points and threw for over half a millennium in yards on Sunday. Dak has 3 straight games of 450 passing yards and is the only player in NFL history to accomplish that. There's not much more Dak can do from a statistical standpoint, and with him being a large reason why the Cowboys have put up 30 in each of the last 3 games, he is clearly not the problem. The defense has given up 126 points in the last 3 games, and while a team may win one of those games, they're not going to consistently win, and we've seen that through 4 games of the Mike McCarthy era. The bottom line is, the Cowboys will only go as far as their defense can take them. And next we go to Detroit to discuss the train wreck that is the Lions. The Lions went up by 14 points on the Saints, which is an accomplishment in itself, but then in signature Matt Patricia fashion, they gave up 35 straight points and found themselves down 3 scores in a span of a little less than 2 quarters. The Lions are in a situation similar to the Jets, where they have a horrendous head coach and clearly aren't going to win anything of note with their coach. They need to cut ties with Matt Patricia, and Sunday was yet another example of why they should do that. Matthew Stafford has had a similar, although less successful career than Matt Ryan, where as we mentioned, the defense just isn't good enough to even limit teams, and Sunday was really a glimpse of Stafford's entire career. Matt threw 3 touchdown passes and targeted 11 different players, and the Lions lost. And unless something seriously changes within the next year, then they are going to have Stafford retire without a ring, and that's honestly a shame, as Stafford has given everything and more to the franchise. It's been a continuous revolving set of doors between head coaches and coordinators, and during his tenure as the Lions quarterback, they've made the playoffs just 3 times, of course going 0-3 in those games. At a point, the Lions had Stafford, Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate, and Reggie Bush, and went 11-5. This was in 2014, and that was the best team that was ever placed around Stafford, and not surprisingly, he produced. He is 32 years old, and for his sake, I really do hope they have something change in the next few years. He's been a great player, and I hope he gets a few playoff wins before he hangs up the cleats. And next we go to Cleveland to discuss the Browns and if they're back or not. As we already mentioned in the Dallas segment, they put up 49 points, which is incredible in itself. However, what may be the most impressive thing they did Sunday was rush for over 300 yards. The Browns had 31 points in the first half and were having fun and showing America the type of team they can be when everything is clicking. Now the question is, are the Browns back, and are they going to heavily compete in the AFC? If you want to think that, go ahead. I don't want to tell you what you can or cannot think or buy into, but for my personal opinion, I don't think they're back, or more so living up to the hype. They do have 3 straight wins, and good for them, but we saw on opening day when they played the Ravens how bad this team can play at times. Their 3 wins are over the Bengals, the football team, and now Dallas. I would buy more into the hype surrounding the Browns if they hadn't got beat by over 30 points by the Ravens back in Week 1. They have to play the Ravens again and Steelers twice still, and because of that, I don't think I'm buying into the hype yet. Their next 3 games are home against Indy, at Pittsburgh, and at Cincinnati, and they very well could be 5-2 through 7 games. And because of having players like Baker, Odell, and Myles Garrett, they will naturally get more talked about than other teams in my channel. I hope they do well, but I'm not ready to buy in quite yet. I also do want to say I wish the best for Nick Chubb and hope he recovers fast and everything goes well with his recovery. And next we go to Miami to discuss the Dolphins. The Dolphins are a 1-3 team and lost to Seattle on Sunday with a score of 31-23. Their next 3 games are at San Francisco, at Denver, and home against the Chargers. Now, just being realistic here, I would say the best they come out of that is 3-4, and obviously at worst 1-6. I don't think they win in San Francisco no matter what, but the games against the AFC West are certainly winnable. If they do end up 1-6, then they should start Tua, as they didn't draft him in the top 5 for him to sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick for his entire career. I would love to see him play, and at that point there would be nothing to lose. Not only that, but the Dolphins' future is getting brighter by the week with how bad the Texans are playing. They have their first and second round picks due to the Laramie Tunsil trade in the 2021 draft class, and I don't think the Dolphins make the playoffs by any means, so I do think they will have 4 top 40 or at worst 4 top 45 picks. Everyone knew the Dolphins probably wouldn't be an 11-5 team in 2020 heading into the year, and that's fine. Their future is extremely bright. They will be able to add some great talent in the upcoming draft, and those players will be able to grow with Tua and everyone else on the roster. The takeaway is all the Dolphins have to be this year is competitive. As long as they're competitive and lose close games, then that's winning for them, as their future, with a gem of a head coach in Brian Flores by the way, is as bright as they want it to be. Tua versus Josh Allen could become a great quarterback rivalry for the next decade. And the next takeaway is Tom Brady is more than back. He finished the game Sunday with 5 touchdown passes and nearly 375 yards passing, and the Bucs beat the Chargers in a very fun, high-scoring game. Tom is the most accomplished football player of all time, and despite that, there was some doubt heading into this season of what he could do on a new team with a bunch of new players. He did all of this Sunday without one of the best receivers in the league, as Chris Godwin missed the game due to an injury. The Bucs opened their year with a double-digit loss to the Saints, but since then have went undefeated, have 2 double-digit victories, and in the latest one, a 5-touchdown performance from Tom. Their next 3 games are at Chicago on Thursday night, home against Green Bay, and at the Raiders, and I'm going to be honest here, there's no reason they can't start out 6-1. And for what it's worth, the game after that is at the Giants, so there is no reason they can't start out 7-1 and be very near the top, if not at the top of the NFC at the midway point in the year. The Bucs are going to be a tough out for anyone in the playoffs, as unlike them, the Browns, Tom has been there almost as many years as Baker's been alive and has seen everything defenses can attack with. At this point, I think the hype is more easy to buy in with Tampa than Cleveland, as there is no Baltimore in their division. The Saints could be argued, but they're the same team that lost to the Raiders and only beat the Lions by 6. Anyways, the Bucs hype is picking up and is absolutely real. And the final takeaway, though not limited to, is the Houston Texans are officially done. They are 0-4 in the post-DeAndre Hopkins era with a loss to the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings had a running back in Dalvin Cook and 2 receivers in Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson all go for 100 yards on Sunday, and it was a rough game for the Texans. While he has proven to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league at times, Deshaun Watson missed several throws on Sunday, and it wasn't a good game for Houston all around. At a point, the Vikings were up 17-3 and looked completely in control, while the Texans, credit to them, trimmed that lead to 17-16 at a point. The lead then grew to 31-16 and finished at the final score 31-23. Houston, outside of Deshaun and Laramie Tunsil, is simply not a good football team, and their 0-4 record shows that. What may be the worst part about this for the Texans is they don't have their first or second round pick in next year's draft due to trading for their current left tackle, Laramie Tunsil. They are in one of the worst situations in football because of this. As good as even he can't lead them out of this. Hypothetically, if they reel off 9 wins in their final 12, and because it is the AFC, South where anything can happen. They win the division or get in as a 6 or 7 seed, their ceiling is winning a playoff game and then losing to Big Brother, which to them is either Kansas City or Baltimore. No matter how their season finishes, I can tell you this: it will not end with Deshaun Watson kissing the Lombardi in Tampa, and quite honestly, they're very, very far from that, as this roster isn't good outside of a few players. They've given up 30 points in 3 of their first 4 games, with 28 being in the only one they didn't give up at least 30. It's been a rough start, and it will get better throughout the year, as they won't go winless, but they certainly won't go to the AFC Championship game or anything like that. Some last thoughts are to pump the brakes on the Cardinals hype train. Congratulations to Joe Burrow on getting his first career win. The Rams, despite only playing the Giants, continue to prove to be legit. The Bills could be the second best team in the AFC, and the Bears, despite starting out 3-0, will gradually get worse throughout the year. The Colts defense is legit, and they very well could win the AFC South. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I truly appreciate all the support, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. And I'm going a little off script here if you can't tell, but Justin Jefferson, man, that kid is legit. Skull.